Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of The Disruption Show. My name is Claire Munde and today we're talking all about choosing the right investment for you. Personal finance is very diverse and we want to understand what should you be thinking about before deciding what to invest in. To have this conversation, I'm happy to be joined by Robert Ochieng, who is a personal finance expert and the CEO and co-founder of Abujani. Welcome.
Thank you, Claire.
I'm also happy to be joined by Caleb Tamabut, who is the Enterprise Development Officer at Equity Group Foundation. Welcome to you.
Thank you, Claire.
Now, first of all, before we can understand what saving and investment is, I'd like us to understand how should we go about saving? Because before we get to the investment part, we need to save. And I'll direct that question to you, Robert. Many people think sometimes saving is the same as investing, but what is the difference between the two?
Yeah, so I'd say saving actually happens in your mind. That acceptance that money means something to you. So it means different things to different people. For some people, it means freedom. For some people, it could mean going for holiday or living a good life. So once you've made that connection, then you'll have to reconcile that whenever you get some source of income, you have to set aside part of it for the needs that you have. So once you've made that decision, then now investing can be putting part of that savings in investment vehicles where you're getting returns above the inflation rate. But saving is actually a habit and is a lifestyle. Like you have to accept that if you need to go for holiday at the end of the year, you'll need, let's say, 60,000 Kenya shillings. Then now you've made a decision to set aside 5,000 Kenya shillings per month in your mind. Then you actualize it by putting it somewhere, putting it aside. So it is a journey and it has to be goal-based and driven, so that you are convinced. You have to convince yourself that this is important. Because sometimes people say that they are doing what we call YOLO, but we always say that the comeback for YOLO is yo-yo. So yo is you are on your own. If you have an emergency today and you need 5,000 Kenya shillings, you'll call all your friends, and you hear people saying friends are scams. But ideally, your friends are not friends to your money. So you can see if you save and you have 10K and you have an emergency of 5,000, you'll be able to solve that problem. So those are now the life lessons that you need to learn practically, and then you make peace with the idea of saving. So when you get to your income, you'll say there's money for needs, there's money for living life, and then there's money for saving and investing for tomorrow. Then it becomes natural and you become self-driven, sort of.
Okay. I think that's a good point that you say. It really, you need to understand what it means to you. What is freedom to you? For one person, they'd love to travel at the end of the year or regularly, quarterly or whatever. For another person, they want to get a house and whatnot. So you need to understand your own personal situation. And I'd like to rope you in, Caleb. He's talked about putting aside an amount. There are people who have a certain formula, 30, 50, 80, that whole rule. What should we be looking out for? Is there a certain formula of 30, 20 that we should be putting for saving our expenses and whatnot, or do you just decide what you want?
Actually, from what I understand about saving, it is coming up with as if it is a culture. Though it might be a culture, the way he has already put it, it is having it inside you and say that I want to save. Actually, the money that you are getting is not enough. But if you set it, from your question, what you've asked, I can say, if you set it as a percentage of the amount that you make. Sometimes it is a rainy day. For a business person, it can be a rainy day. For an entrepreneur, sometimes it is dry. So, but for somebody who is salaried, there is that percentage. This is my net. It is always said for a good saving, it should be 20% of what I get. You save 20%. You save the 20%. If you are an entrepreneur, you save 20% based on what you get during that period. Let's say I'm doing business. This time the business was not doing well. I'll save the 20%. So it should be have that figurative figure of 20% of what I get. So meaning that an entrepreneur has to understand his income in one way or another. What am I getting? So that is what I can say for everybody or anybody who feel that I want savings to be part of me, make it a good figure. That is, it's always it is theoretically, actually I can say it is theoretically confirmed that 20%, but somebody can do better than that. Even over 50, half of what you are getting, so long you are meeting your basic needs and wants that you want to get, based on also your goals. If you identify my goals, these are these, so that is when you will even save more. I think that is what I can say.
Okay, and the way you've said that, like for entrepreneurs, their income is really irregular. Maybe that 20% will not be there 1 month, how do you go about making sure that, okay, there are months that I'm down, there are months that I'm up? So do you do 40 in the months that you're doing good and then nothing during the times when it's difficult? How do you go about it? Because for many people who have that irregular income, it becomes difficult. How do you balance that?
Thank you so much, Claire, for that question. Whereby you find an entrepreneur, there are some months even it is dry.
Yeah.
Even feeding yourself is a problem. You see, there are some months you even have a lot of surplus. And if you are in a business and you understand that this is the period that I don't have even a coin, there is that rainy day. So you will, we even always tell our customers, though where I work, we always tell our customers, there are sometimes even you don't have any coin. What will you do? Save more when you are doing well. So I can say there's some period, you can give yourself and say that if I'm doing 20% of my net or of my gross, if I'm doing 20%, what is the actual expected amount when I'm doing well? You say I can save something like 500,000 by the end of the year. Draft it somewhere. When it is rainy, you do what? You save more. With that target that I have a goal to save 500,000 at the end of the year. So there are some period you can save even 8 of what I'm getting, because you've calculated what my expenses is this amount. So once you have achieved, you have sorted all your expenses, and your expenses also should be constant. If I say that I'm doing a shopping of 5,000 every month, not when you are doing well, you do a shopping of 10,000. So you be constant, so that what remains, all of them, you can do what? You save. Knowing that in coming future, I might not be having any coin at the end of the day. So I think you can save when it is doing well. When you are not doing well, you will now come up and say, you have also to calculate a goal. I want to save this amount at the end of the day. I want to save 500 as I have saved. It reach a point whereby you have not reached that and you feel, I've been saving the 20%. So you should also give a target. So you can save more when you are doing well.
Okay. I think what you've said is very important about your expenses, keeping them as low as possible, because a problem that many people have said is that as your income increases, sometimes your luxuries increase. So you are driving one car, then you want to upgrade. And so you find yourself not having any investments simply because you're so-called elevating your lifestyle. So maybe, Robert, you can tell us about how we can strike that balance between, okay, when you have that money, there's that temptation to elevate, so to speak, your lifestyle. How do you make sure that you're not eating into your savings and what could be investments when you get more money than you expected? And then after that, also tell us what kind of asset classes should we be thinking about when we want to invest? We have put money, saved an amount, now we want to invest it somewhere. What are the different asset classes we can think of?
Yes, so I would say when it comes to saving and investing, usually I sort of have a rule known as leveling up. Mm-hmm. So when you are leveling up on spending, that one is known as a lifestyle creep, which is very common. It is actually a bias that when you get a new job, you are likely to upgrade your car. And you see, I can give you an example. If you're working in a place and you become a manager, suddenly the expectations are high. Mm-hmm. I remember when I joined the University of Nairobi to do MBA, during induction, one of the lecturers actually joked that now that you're doing MBA, if you can always come to school early enough and pass by Norfolk to take some coffee. So sort of you're being elevated by the society. So that if that gets into your head, it means that you'll just spend the rest of your life elevating your expenses. But then the reverse of it is when you start saving and investing, you have a goal and then you say that I'm going to save 5,000 Kenya shillings per month. If you get an increment, what you do, you level up to 10,000, like that. And that becomes part of your DNA. So it will be very, very natural because you are pursuing a goal. Remember, if you look at life, honestly, for most Kenyans, we need two things. One is home ownership. The other one is financial freedom number, which is a big number. So those will definitely be in millions. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a boda guy, you'll find that when you retire, even 1 million will be too little. So all of us, we need millions. So when we start saving this little money, whether it is 20,000 Kenya shillings per month, and you have that big goal, maybe you want to own a house, you'll see actually that you should be doing more. You get it? And remember, for the rules, even for saving and investing, when you say that, you can spend 50% on needs, then 30% on living life, and 20% on saving and investing. There's still enough money to live life, you know, if you want to go for holiday. But if you want to spend all your money on living life or on needs, then it means now you'll have problems during retirement or when you want to achieve certain goals. Like we've seen the cost of education is likely to go up. So when you look at that and you consider, you should actually be aggressive in terms of working towards your goals. And the goals will give you reward that only a few people are enjoying. And that's why the people who enjoy it, they're very quiet. For example, if you have 400,000 Kenya shillings in a circle and they're giving 10%, at the end of the year you have 40. You see, you can reinvest. But there's someone who has zero. So then they're not seeing the beauty of saving 200,000 or 100,000. They're always seeing the other side. So it is something that you have to train our minds, and you have to convince the mind. You know, the mind is very personal. What you tell yourself that you are capable of doing is what you are going to do. So when you look at investing, always say that it's good, obviously in Kenya, you start with having a bank account. So unfortunately, some of us, like personally, the first time I had a bank account is when I was told you are going to get help. So, and ideally that will be recommended by, let's say, your parents, if you are lucky, or it will be recommended by your friends. Then after that, the money comes and you don't know what to do. So you see, so you have to learn that first you start with a bank account, and you have to know what the bank account is for. So there's a current account for receiving salaries, then you can have savings accounts in a bank, and also banks have investment products. Yeah. So again, in investment products, usually I get interesting questions from people. People claim that, you know, for treasury bills on bonds, they want too much money, they want a whole 50,000, I have only 3,000. But what you need to do, start by saving that 3,000 Kenya shillings per month. In about 18 months, you'll have the 50. So you level up. That's how you look at investing. So you can't just wake up in one day and say, I want to afford this and that. Respect the journey, right? And if you respect the journey, even let's say you want to own a piece of land, there's none that is probably less than 100,000. So you are just being taught that actually 50,000 Kenya shillings per month is 60 at the end of the year. At the end of year 2 is 120, right? Year 3, 180 plus interest. So if there's a piece of land that is 250, you can afford, but it's just a matter of time. So I think the issue comes in that you want to front load the expenses, and then we land into problems. But if you respect the journey, you'll be surprised that 5 years is a very short period of time. So if you're saving 50,000 Kenya shillings per month, you'll have over 600,000 plus interest. Yeah. And that is quite something here in Kenya. So if you look at that, idea of respecting the journey is very, very important. Then you can go to different options, whether it is real estate, treasury bills and bonds that you want. And these days, banks, they are sort of one-stop shop where you can get all these ideas. But the good thing is that you should learn to respect the journey. And you should know what you need. If you need insurance, you can talk to your bank. They can guide you because they work with licensed insurance companies. They can give you all these products that can help you now with your specific goals. And these goals are very unique. There are people who are single, you know. Yeah. There are people who are married. There are people who are single, but they have children. So we usually say that personal finance situations are not shared. You know, you can't say that he's an entrepreneur, so sometimes he gets more money or he's employed. So you just have to look at your own situation. And like you said, for entrepreneurs, if you have irregular income, what you need to do is that you need to be aggressive on your expenses. So you know things like rent, they tend to be monthly here in Kenya. And we are lucky, actually, in a country like Nigeria. I was surprised to see that you pay annual rent. I don't know what would happen if that comes to Kenya. You'll have chaos. So you see, but still people are managing. So all these things are about planning. And generally, money is about financial planning. Because I see sometimes you find a family that has pieces of land worth 5 or even 20 M. When their child gets a calling letter to, let's say, Alliance High School, and maybe they need 150,000 in a year, or Starehe, or 120, you find them saying that they're poor. They're not poor. They have assets, but the financial planning, that's a problem. Probably if that child has shown that they're bright, so by the time they're in class 6, you can start looking for a way to dispose one piece of land that is worth 500,000 or 1 M. You see? And we know how powerful education is here in Kenya. So you're basically investing so that you continue creating value as a family. So that aspect of financial planning is important. Then you'll know which asset class to put it. But I always say start with a bank account. And I would also encourage people, have a relationship with your bank. Because people think it is about transactions. At the end of the day, a bank is about people, and organizations are generally about people. So if you have a rapport with your RM, if you're in business, create a rapport so that when you are in need, you already have a rapport. It can't be one-off relationship where you come and very stressed, like the world is going to end tomorrow. So even the relationship manager is scared. You know, they have to do loan appraisals.
Yes.
But if they know your history, they can actually say that Robert is usually resilient, someone I can support. I've followed their journey, and you'll find that you get a lot of support.
Yeah, I
so
like
get
that.
the asset classes, but also know that finance and money is about conversations and relationships, and get it from the right people. Have that financial advisor, whether it is from the bank, because these days, like we are in that space. I get a lot of words on WhatsApp. So I'm told some economist said something on Ghana, and I'm just telling people, don't you remember last year you were convinced that Kenya was going to default and we didn't, you know. So the negative news really, they convince people, they spread and convince people that things are going to go wrong. And that's why you need to have good sources of information.
Yeah, yeah.
Like personally, when banks are doing the investor briefing I follow, they usually start with the economy, and you see the trends where things are going. You find some of these trends that are global, and we keep on worrying. Whether elections are coming, people worry, and we've had so many elections.
Yeah.
So it's just to ensure that you stay guarded, especially in the information age, and find brands that you can trust, and you work with, and walk the journey. Because if you are going to be a millionaire or a billionaire, it's usually a journey.
A journey.
The same with career and even business. It's a journey. So put finances being one of the pillars in your journey.
Okay.
And then you just grow and you get better, whether you're saving 30 Kenya shillings per month, 50. And you'll find that it's very satisfying when you do it practically,
Okay.
when you see the numbers growing.
Yeah, yeah. I like the way you said respect the journey. And you know, the way sometimes people just want to become overnight millionaires. And that's why they burn their fingers, because now they put their money in things that claim to give, you know, exponential amounts, but in reality they lose their money. So maybe, Caleb, you can tell us what are some of the things that we should look out for when we're investing. So we've saved and now we're investing. What are some of the things we should look out for that could be red flags that this is not a very good investment to put my money in?
There is one thing that actually you have said. The red flag in most of our youth, for example, they would like to make money very fast. So mostly they would like to get to those things. Actually, outside there are very many people who would like to get cheap money from these our youths, like the betting companies. Those might be the red flag. Somebody says that I save for some time, and then once I've gotten something like 15 to 10 million or to 10,000, I do what? I go and put there so that it can earn a good interest. So the red flags that we can have in our savings is, where do we put our savings in our first place? I think that is the red flag. One of the things that we always train our customers outside there is that, is it a safe place that I'm putting my money? Is it a safe place? I'm putting this money to this place. And that is why I had something that Robert said before even I say those. When you are putting the money in a given place, it is a safe place. Am I getting an interest component in it? Some people will just put money somewhere. At the end of the day, even disposing that land, you're being told that is a Liberian land. This is a government land. This is somewhere I want to. Yes, some of us might invest in something that at the end of the day, it is not legal. You've not followed clear procedure in putting your money somewhere. Some people might say, I want to put my money in Chama. Tomorrow you join that Chama. Chama goes and borrow money from a bank, and the security is those savings. So some might disappear. So what will happen from my savings that I've already saved for some? My ad-hand cash that I've been calculating that I want to save the 20% every month, that I've worked that journey that Robert has said. And then in the end of the day, I lose that money because I didn't put in a very safe place. Also, the red flag that we can have in our savings is that there are very many platforms that we can put our money. And I've realized, Robert has just mentioned a number of them. Having a saving account, putting treasury bonds, putting also in, there are a number of things, there are types of accounts for savings that you cannot withdraw any easily. That is for the, meant actually for the savings only. And as you advance with your money, the interest comes in, because we're being told to put your money in treasury bonds. You need something like 500,000 and above. Do you have that money? They'll start with 10,000. Maybe 10,000 is just opening the account. But if you tell them put this money in this account, he'll say, no, let me put on something else that will give me money at the end of the day. And if you follow where he's putting that money, he wants money very fast. So, but that working that journey. So the red flags that I can save in my side is that the safe place that I put my money, is the first priority, getting that account. And have confidence. Some people like Robert have said that whenever the financial report are being read of financial institutions, he follows everything, meaning that he will understand the asset base of a given institution. Before he puts his money, he's very comfortable with that place. But us, we're being told, this is a circle that has just started the other day, and you put your savings inside there. And you don't know the financial stability of that institution. Tomorrow you say, I lost my money, because maybe those people didn't have good management skill. So it is also the red flag that we have in our savings. Also, what we can say is that once you have drawn that, I want to save this amount, and this is what I want to do, stick to it, and accept that I've accepted that I want to save it, and it is part of me, and I'm going to save. So that is what I can say. The red flags that are very many in our savings, starting from the account to you personally. The lifestyle that we might be having. Maybe you said when salary increases, I have to change my lifestyle. So those might be, you might tell me, Caleb, why don't you save for now? Claire, you might encourage me on the job that you just gotten. Why don't you save something better? But to me, I don't see that, because I'm already saving what I've already said. It is 500,000 per year. But even if you add me amount, I still remain with that. So at the end of the day, I need also to scale up whenever I get something better from that. So where we put our money, we should also consider that. And also the convenience. There are some, I can say, for example, there are some groups. I always see some people put their money in Merigo. That is why the part of having an account is very important. There are groups who open the Merigos. This Merigo meets every month, like today is on 4th. They meet every month, like 5th, like today every month. And then on 6th, I get good amount of money. And I want to save that money. So I will wait up to 5th. By the time I'm reaching 5th, will I still have that money? So it is also the convenience. In my account, when I get money, I put it anytime. And it is a fixed account, or it's an account that I cannot withdraw, because I've just given a limit that after 3 months, after 6 months, after 9 months, after 12 months, I will withdraw, based on my goal that after this period, I'll get my money. So let's also identify the red flags is that if I'm going to save, am I going to interest component or the dividends in it? And if it is the dividends, what is the percentage of the dividend? There are very many institutions giving good dividends, but others will even tell you this is the best. If somebody tells you, put 50,000 there, and then I'll give you another 50,000. And it is a betting, it is a gambling thing, where you have placed your money, but there is no that surety that you are going to get that 100,000. So let us also consider the safety and where we are putting our money. So that is it.
I think, as you said, it's important to really understand where you're putting your money. So just the way you and Robert said that you need to understand the financials. Has that company been in the game for a while? What have their financials really looked like before just putting your money? You work hard for your money, so you really need to respect it by understanding where you're putting your money. And Robert, as we come to a close of this discussion, we could go on and on. Could you just tell us, there are people who are risk averse, and there are people who are really, they play safe. They play safe, and then there are people who love risk. How do we go about balancing the two? Because you might be a risk taker, but then you don't want to put your money in the wrong place. And then you might be risk averse, but then you're missing out on so many opportunities. So how do you balance your portfolio as you're building it to make sure you have a little bit of maybe the risky investments, but still very good investments, and then the ones that you're sure will be safe there?
Yes, I always say that it is a journey. So you start by playing defensive first. So let's assume that you are good at boxing, and you're only good at throwing the punches. So what will happen? As you're throwing the punch, you'll get a technical knockout in the 3rd second. So first you have to protect yourself, and that's where you start with defensive. So defensive are the habits, like setting aside an emergency fund. So an emergency fund, let me tell you, Claire, that thing is priceless, because the thing it does to the mind, it tells you that there are some problems that you are above. Because let's assume that your monthly needs are 20,000 Kenya shillings, and now you've saved an emergency fund for 6 months. So that's like 120,000. What it means that if something happens now, at least you have 6 months to figure it out. And if you have a situation where you need 5,000, you're just taking 5,000 from 120,000, right? So it helps the mind to think long term. And it changes the individual from always worrying about money to thinking long term, which is very powerful, because most people's interaction with money is always to worry. Like there's a client who was telling me that he has a problem with his staff, that by 16th, they always have sort of taken salary advances. Yeah, so when he's paying, it's like he's paying 20 or 30% of the real salary. So you can find when you are in that cycle, really, the mind is not operating at the level that you need it to operate at when it comes to money. So it's very, very important that start that emergency fund. Then you pick goals. So you can say every 3 years or every year, this is what I'm going to do. So once you set the foundation, then that money that you are getting, the interest that you are getting from your savings account or SACCO, can even now allow you to play more aggressively. So now you can go offensive, right? Because let's say you want to invest in shares. Shares, they're said to have medium to high risk. So they're not the things to start with. You start with the savings account where you can put your money. If you have an emergency, you can get. Then now from that savings, you can say, I have 200,000, let me try something with shares using 20,000. You see, the shares can go up 3 times. They can also go down to maybe by 90%. It won't affect your portfolio much. But you'll be learning the discipline that you need to start with the foundation, then you expand. If you want to do a business, you'll say, let me save, once I hit 1 million, I can try a business with 100,000. But what do? People who have never done any business, they're going to take a 2 million loan to buy Uber when Ubers came. So you find that the thing is not working and you end up paying a loan for 5 years. So it's always the aspect that people are not respecting the journey and not knowing that the more you save, actually, the more likely that you'll be able to take higher risks because you'll just be using a portion of your, like your salary. And now when you look at the long term, if you want to even to look at savings account and treasury bills and bonds, so bonds, the returns are likely to be higher, but they are long term again. So you see, so you'll have your short term portfolio and long term that you don't need. Because remember, if you don't have an emergency fund, it's very hard to do a long term savings.
Yeah.
You'll be knocking on the doors of CBK or whoever is managing the money and telling them to give you back your money. Sometimes you might have to exit at a loss. So that's why it is important to balance and move with that journey and know that the savings, the excess is what gives you the privilege to take higher risks.
Okay, thanks for that. So as we wrap up, Caleb, in under 30 seconds, just tell us how we should go about saving and investing. We've gotten so much from this show, but if you can give one tip to that person listening and watching right now, what will you tell them?
What I can say about saving and investing, the first thing that you have to understand about saving, it is you yourself who decides to save. If you decide from your body and you accept that it is me going to save, even with hard economy, you are going to have something small to save. And we always advise our investors that at any given time, the 20% should always be your rule. But when it is doing better, do much than that. For the part of also savings, I understand where you are putting your savings. Do clear benchmark on all institutions that you feel that I should put my money. Okay. There are very many institutions that are willing to be. On the issue of investing is that before you invest, see also the gains that you are going to get from that investment. The main important thing about investing is getting a profit from it. And also being risk-averse, being risk, but also identify the money that I'm going to invest in that with all the risk. Is it all the money that I have that in case this thing fails, it is the end of me? So you should have a caution from what I'm going to invest.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We have run out of time, but we will have more and more of these conversations. So until next week, you have a good evening.